This is the story of Eddie Tipton, the man who almost pulled off a $24 million lottery heist right under everyone's noses. Eddie wasn't your average criminal mastermind. He was the head of security at the Multi-State Lottery Association in Iowa. His job? To keep the lottery safe from cheaters. But in a twist of irony, Eddie was about to become the biggest cheater the lottery had ever seen. Part of Eddie's job involved writing the software that generated those random winning numbers we all dream about. One day, a coworker made an offhand joke. "Hey Eddie, you could probably sneak in your own winning numbers." Eddie laughed it off at first, but then a light bulb went off in his head. He realized he actually could do it. So, Eddie got to work. He secretly rewrote the lottery code, adding a sneaky little feature. On certain days, the numbers weren't random at all, they were completely predictable. Eddie had cracked the code, but there was just one problem. He couldn't buy tickets himself. Lottery employees were strictly banned from playing. That's where Eddie's brother Tommy came in. Tommy was a sheriff's deputy, of all things. By chance, Tommy was heading to Colorado for a Bigfoot hunting trip. Eddie saw his opportunity and handed Tommy a slip of paper with the magic numbers. Tommy bought the tickets, and wouldn't you know, it hit the jackpot for $4.8 million. After splitting with other winners, Tommy walked away with $570,000, sharing the windfall with Eddie. The scam had worked like a charm. For nearly a decade, Eddie repeated this trick in multiple states: Kansas, Oklahoma, Wisconsin, cashing in hundreds of thousands each time. He thought he had the perfect system, a foolproof way to beat the odds. But, as they say, pride comes before the fall. In 2010, Eddie got greedy. He decided to buy a ticket himself for a massive $16.5 million hot lotto jackpot. It was a fatal mistake. Security cameras caught him on tape, purchasing the winning ticket in a convenience store. When shady lawyers and even a fake Canadian claimant tried to collect the prize, suspicion exploded. Lottery officials knew something wasn't right, but they couldn't quite put their finger on it. Little did they know, the culprit was one of their own. For long years, investigators followed leads and chased down clues. But it was a simple tip that finally cracked the case wide open. Someone recognized Eddie from the surveillance footage, and suddenly, all the pieces fell into place. Police swooped in, arresting Eddie, Tommy, and their accomplice Robert. The trio had attempted to scam a whopping $24 million in total. It was the biggest lottery scandal in U.S. history, and it sent shockwaves through the entire industry. Eddie Tipton, the man who was supposed to protect the integrity of the lottery, was sentenced to 25 years in prison. But in another twist, he only served 5 years before being released on parole. The story of his almost perfect crime became a cautionary tale for lottery organizations worldwide. So next time you buy a lottery ticket, remember Eddie Tipton. Sometimes, the person you least expect is the one with their hand in the cookie jar. And in this case, that cookie jar was worth millions. Eddie's story is a reminder that even the most secure systems can be vulnerable when the fox is guarding the henhouse. It's a tale of greed, cleverness, and ultimately, the downfall that comes when you push your luck too far. The Multi-State Lottery Association had to completely overhaul its security protocols after this incident. They implemented new safeguards and checks to ensure that no single person could manipulate the system again. Eddie's scam exposed weaknesses that no one had even considered before. But let us rewind a bit and look at how Eddie pulled off this audacious scheme for so long. His position as head of security gave him unprecedented access to the inner workings of the lottery. He knew the system inside and out, which allowed him to exploit its vulnerabilities. Eddie's method was ingenious in its simplicity. He inserted a bit of code into the random number generator, a piece of software called a rootkit. This allowed him to predict the winning numbers, but only on certain days. 3 days a year, when specific conditions were met. To further cover his tracks, Eddie made sure the rigged drawings only happened when a jackpot reached a certain threshold. This made the wins seem more random and less suspicious. It was a clever touch that helped the scam go undetected for years. But Eddie wasn't content with just a few big wins. He expanded his operation, recruiting more family members and friends to buy tickets in different states. His brother Tommy was just the beginning. Soon, Eddie had a small network of accomplices, all cashing in on his insider knowledge. One of the most brazen aspects of Eddie's scheme was how he flaunted his newfound wealth. He bought luxury cars, a massive house, and even invested in a movie production company, all on a government salary that shouldn't have allowed for such extravagance. Yet somehow, no one connected the dots. The turning point came with that fateful $16.5 million ticket in Iowa. Eddie must have thought he was untouchable. He walked into that convenience store, hood up, and bought the ticket himself. It was a move that would ultimately lead to his downfall. When the winning ticket was presented, alarm bells started ringing. The claimant wanted to remain anonymous, which isn't allowed in Iowa. Then, a series of lawyers got involved, each more suspicious than the last. Finally, a man claiming to be from Canada tried to claim the prize just hours before it was set to expire. Lottery officials were baffled. They knew something was off, but they couldn't quite figure out what. It took years of painstaking investigation, combing through security footage, and following paper trails before they finally zeroed in on Eddie. The arrest of Eddie Tipton sent shockwaves through the lottery community. Here was a man who had dedicated his career to protecting the integrity of the games, now exposed as the biggest cheater in lottery history. It was a betrayal of trust on an epic scale. During his trial, Eddie initially maintained his innocence, but as the evidence mounted, he eventually pleaded guilty to multiple charges of fraud. His brother Tommy and their friend Robert Rhodes also faced charges for their roles in the scheme. The fallout from Eddie's scam was far-reaching. Lottery organizations across the country had to reassess their security measures. The public's trust in the fairness of lotteries was shaken. How could they be sure the games were unrigged if the very person in charge of security could manipulate the system? In the end, Eddie Tipton's story is a cautionary tale about the dangers of insider threats and the importance of robust security measures. It's a reminder that sometimes the biggest threat to a system comes from within. So the next time you're feeling lucky and decide to buy a lottery ticket, remember Eddie Tipton. Remember that behind those bouncing balls and flashing lights, there's a complex system designed to keep things fair. And while Eddie's scheme may have worked for a while, in the end, the house always wins. The $24 million lottery scam that shook. America serves as a stark reminder. Even the most trusted individuals can succumb to temptation when millions are on the line. It's a story of greed, ingenuity, and ultimately, justice. And it's a story that will be told in lottery offices and security seminars for years to come.